and welcome. Can you believe this? This is week 9. Week 9 of Hathor hosts. I can't believe it. Hi, Arena. Lovely to see everyone here. Hi, Claire. How fantastic. And the lovely David Hewlett is online. Oh, I love it when a plan comes together. So, David, I am collect us and connect us, perhaps. And I am so looking forward to this
conversation. Oh, you may regret that. Who knows? How are you doing?
Hey, how are you?
We got it. Like it totally.
Instantly.
No, I gotta stop. So touch wood. Touch wood. I mean, it could all go horribly wrong because I'm involved.
No, it won't. I'm quite sure you have lots of support and so much love online. So I'm quite sure we are going to have an amazing time. I am just going to turn the volume up a little.
You look so not locked in. How do you look like? Boy, you are holding together a hell of a lot better than I am.
Well, honey, it's only from the waist up. I'm in.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm in. Can you see I'm in sweatpants on the bottom.
Oh, nice. I went with shorts today. I went for the shorts. Now, just so you know, I was streaming because my son was like required at a school event, so I was doing his stream for him.
Amazing.
So we're actually doing both now. So I'm actually talking to you and I've told everybody they have to log into you. They're not allowed to be. So there you go.
Yes, please. Otherwise, I don't even know if they can see it unless they're going through you, which is perfect.
No, they won't see me. All they'll see is me talking to a phone. And I put headphones on so they can't even hear it. So basically, all they're seeing is me waving around like a Muppet.
So we could say anything right now.
We could say anything we want about the people on Twitch. This is amazing, though. I've never done this.
Say again?
I've never done this. I've never done an actual Instagram. This is very savvy of you.
Oh
very,
my God.
very.
You mean you're a virgin, honey?
Totally. Oh my God. Yes. Is there something like less than a virgin? I think, could I be even pre-virgin? I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know.
Yes.
But one thing I do know.
Never had that chat with me.
I know. Do we know each other well enough for that? I don't know.
Well, by the end of this, maybe. By the end of it. Well, you probably do know me well enough now. You've talked to Kate, so you know all the horrible.
Exactly. I have all the inside gossip.
Right. I'm here basically to, denounce and deny throughout this. Yeah.
Well, on that note, we're going to jump straight on in because there are lots of questions for you. Look, people are sending lemons already because of Rodney's citrus.
And I have not even looked at the questions. I was going to look at the question. I thought, you know what? No, you know what? I'm winging it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, it's even brilliant and nice and spontaneous. So the first thing I want to ask you is, you are a self-confessed geek and tech nerd.
Yes.
So what was 12-year-old David like? Give us a picture of what you were like.
It was, he would have been 12-year-old David would have been in a giant coat, like corduroy coat that was too big for him, with a teddy bear in his pocket, a floppy hat, and a big Doctor Who scarf. I was in love with Doctor Who. I thought Doctor Who was just the coolest thing in the world. I thought that's what I was going to be when I grew up. Not an actor. I was going to be a Time Lord, basically.
Right.
I don't know. Tom Baker. I was just a huge Tom Baker fan. Bag of Jelly Babies in my pocket.
Amazing.
Beaten up on the way to and from school all the time because people just thought I was a weirdo. I was a pretty geeky little guy. Yeah.
And when did you discover that you could act? Was it around about this time?
Still waiting. I'm still waiting for that moment where you go like, I can do this. Do you ever know? Like, I find I question it all the time. Like, I just don't.
Absolutely. But I think I remember very clearly being, it was a school play. And
right. Yeah.
I was looked over. I can't even remember what the role was. It was something like a sheep or something terribly unglamorous.
That prized sheep role.
Yeah. And I was like, I want to be the sheep. And I was looked over and I was so pissed off. And then the next day, the girl who got picked got too scared and was like, I don't want to do this. I'm too nervous. So they were going on height. They didn't even ask anyone if they wanted to do it. They just said, we're going on height. And I remember standing on my like tippy toes. And they went, all right, you and you. And the minute I got there, I knew I wanted to do it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to describe it. And then I got a laugh and I was like,
oh, forget it. Yeah, that's it. No, that's the doom. I think when you get a response from the audience, that's when you go like, there's a
Yeah.
power to it. There's like a, I think it's a, yeah, it was school plays for me, definitely was what started for me. And I think I was such a disaster in every other aspect of school that they were just, I think everyone was just desperately looking for something for me.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough that one of the teachers there, actually the school chaplain, who was an ex-actor. He was an
Wow.
actor who, who had some kind of an epiphany during a car accident and decided he then went and joined the church and stuff. And but he was still a theater man at heart. And he got me into it. He sort of championed the cause. I had an English teacher who put me in the play. They never had junior school kids in the senior school plays, and I was cast. Yeah, I think again, just out of desperation, they were like, "We got to do something with this kid because he is just on another planet." So, I mean, I was literally walking around. I thought I was Doctor Who. Like it was, it was cosplay with none of the happiness. I was, it's like, damn it, I can't get this sonic screwdriver to work. Well, what's wrong with it? I built it. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So yeah, I didn't see I'm afraid it took a long time for me to see the difference between acting and what was happening on television.
Right. The kind of make believe and
Yeah,
the
not a
actual
smart,
fantasy of it.
not a very, very eager, curious, and excitable kid, but maybe not so smart.
But it was around about this time that you met your childhood friend Vincenzo Natali. Am I saying that
Yes,
right?
Vincenzo.
Yes.
Natalie, yeah, Vincenzo.
Natali, sorry.
The most Italian sounding non-Italian guy. Like he just sounds like he oozes Italy, but he's just like this, like he's just another like basically another like white Toronto kid, basically like me. I mean, he is Italian from Italian descent, but is just like we were just, yeah, we were very square. Yeah, well, I've been doing school plays, and I used to joke about this little nerd came up to me and sort of because I thought I was. That was the irony of all this is the whole time I thought I was cool. So as I saw it, a little film nerd came up and said, "Do you want to be in your movies?" And I was like, I guess maybe. And that was it. I did all my summers were spent making movies with them, and I like I mean, yes, first of all the teachers, but then Vincenzo. I mean, and people ask about how to get into film, and I always say like find people who are making films. And this guy was someone who you get to learn with them, and you get to do all aspects of it. Like for me, I didn't realize acting was just acting. I thought it was involved. I was like, you're acting, and then when you're not acting, you're holding the boom, or you're operating the camera, or you're redirecting traffic, or whatever, making plastic molds. I mean, like we did it all, and it was glorious. It was like this amazing sort of adventure. So film has always been my preference because that's. I just felt it's a great combination of like geekiness and art and the ability to perform and really make I couldn't get over the statement you could make with like a close-up shot and it was amazing. And he's an incredibly talented guy. I was very, very lucky to work with him and still do. I mean, not as much as I like now. He's all over the place now.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to get to him later as well.
Sorry. Okay. Well, we'll hold that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get back to that, callers.
Little mystery.
So he ignited your kind of passion for filmmaking, which I imagine also stood you in really good stead down the line. Because as you said, like you had to do everything. So you got on your first set and you were probably like, yeah, I know what it means to hit my mark. I know exactly, you know what I mean? You were like, I'm ready, I'm prepared.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. I mean, like, so most kids of my age doing auditioning, I started auditioning probably when I was like 15.
Yeah.
15 going 16, like just in that little cusp there, my parents finally allowed me to do it. Not finally allowed me to, I shouldn't say that. My parents finally kicked me out of the house to auditions. Instead of talking about them, they actually made me go to one. But what I was actually really disappointed because I got there and I was like ready to do everything. And of course they're like, well, you just go to sit over there and when we're ready, we'll get to you. I was like, but the cameras, it's all the fun stuff's happening over here. So, but it was about, that's where you start learning it's just about staying out of everyone's way, basically. If you're not talking on set, you're in the way. It's just the way it is. No matter how good an actor you are, you're in the way if you're not talking. So all of that stuff, I had all this technical knowledge that was just ingrained because I just thought that was, it was the stuff you pick up by doing, I'd done 3 or 4 of these movies with my friends before, so that when it came to actually shooting things, it was like, oh yeah, I understood all aspects of it in a way that I, not entirely, but I had a good understanding of a lot of the stuff that I think a lot of the kids didn't when there's, and that's sort of gone with me throughout you know, I feel like I am far more interested in the whole process than just the acting process, and I think that's sort of served me very, very well. I mean, maybe I'd be doing better if I was more more focused on the acting, but it's allowed my sort of ADHD to run wild. There's so many things going on. It's so much fun to be a part of it all. So yeah, yeah, Vincenzo absolutely, you know, absolutely set me up for that, and also just a respect for directors and a respect for scripts and a respect for all of the things that are like, it's so not just about the actor.
Yeah.
You know, so many parts in there going on.
Exactly. It really gives you an appreciation of what a collaborative art it is.
Yeah.
So was it around about this time you dropped out of school? And I was really moved. You speak very passionately and articulately about the one size fits all approach to education and how it can be really detrimental to kids who are different. So I wondered if you might have anything to say to anyone who might be watching tonight or later on when this goes onto YouTube about, you know, if they have a kid who might be struggling in school, or if they themselves are struggling in school or uni or anything like that, like, you know, look at you, look at what you overcame.
It's funny. Well, I think I was also lucky too. I mean, I think I would love to say that it was because I figured out my own way, but I think I was very, very lucky that I had, you know, teachers and parents who did want to support me, maybe a little begrudgingly in some way. You know, my father, you know, worked his way up from nothing and you know, scholarships and such to get to school, and became a doctor, and you know, really had to work, you know, and then to see his son not doing that work at school, I had no interest in it. I mean, I think looking back now, there were a lot of things there are a lot of excuses I could make for why that was a problem for me. But I think the best advice I have for that stuff is, it was actually not mine, is Sir Kenneth, Sir Kenneth Robinson. Is that right? Is it right? The guy? There's a fantastic, there's a brilliant TED Talk. I guarantee you someone in the stream chat will find it for sure. Yeah. Kenneth Robinson. Sir Kenneth, yeah. I think it's Sir Kenneth Robinson.
Sir Kenneth Braun is it?
Oh, he will. Yeah, but yeah, he's amazing too. But he has this whole thing about the element, about this wonderful story about this little girl who is having a bad time at school. She just can't get along with people. She's not paying attention in school. She becomes disruptive. The teachers say, we got to get her out. She's screwing up everyone else's education now as well. Mother's in despair, takes her to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist talks to her for a while, then says, okay, you know, little lady, you stay there, and we're going to go outside. I'm going to talk to your mom. What kind of music do you like? I'll put on the radio. So she puts on the radio, goes outside, talks to the mom. The mom's like, oh my God, you see what that means? You know, we asked her to sit there with her hands under her bottom, and she's already up there dancing around. And the psychiatrist said, well, look, just have a look through the window. And look through the window. Sure enough, there she is dancing around. Mother's despairs. And she says, what do I do? And she goes, because your child doesn't have a problem. Your child's a dancer. That's the problem. She's a dancer trying to sit still in a school class. They put her in a dance academy, a dance school, or an art school, where all of a sudden she said she's surrounded by people who are all doing the same thing. None of them could sit still. They're all prancing around and dancing. She flourished. She became Andrew Lloyd Webber's choreographer.
Oh my God!
So,
it must have been Gillian Lynn, I think.
I think that was it. Yeah, I think that might be it. And the whole point of this is, like, the fear is that now we medicate those kids. Yeah. Because they can't concentrate, because they can't. And I think looking back now, I mean, I've been sort of recently diagnosed with ADHD. And again, it had almost no impact on my life, because I'd sort of already known. I realized that I bounce all over the place. And to me, I say to my son, it's a superpower, because it means you're interested in everything. Yeah. But it's really bad for school, especially when they try to sort of silo the education into arts and math and science, and everything needs to be, they're trying to keep it separate and keep it to curriculum. And so there's a lot of kids, especially boys for some reason, who just don't fit that system. Mm-hmm. And I think it's about finding that element. It's about finding, first off, you got to find a champion. You got to find someone who understands, who has a solution. Right. And then you need to find someone and you need to find that thing that you love and push it. And for me, it was acting. And I was really, really lucky. And then because of my acting, I was then able to pursue the geeky stuff that I love as well. Yeah. I mean, the irony being is I was going home after school and doing all the kind of science, technology, engineering, arts, and math stuff that I talk about now, but it was never equated to what was happening at school.
Yeah.
That was goofing around and having fun, and then there was school, which was boring. And theater was the only thing that really sort of just ignited for me.
Yeah.
I was just, I sat there and watched. I couldn't sit through a class, but I watched and took notes and memorized like most of Playing Shakespeare, that beautiful series that they did with what was that brilliant guy's name who was the head of the Royal Shakespeare Company, but he had David Suchet and
Peter Hall? So Peter Hall?
what was his name?
Peter Hall? What?
It might have been. Oh God, it was so long ago. But it's again another one that I just recommend to people as well.
Yeah.
It's just finding what you love and figuring out how to create an education or a learning process around that. And also the big thing that I push now is like you don't learn something and then it's done. You want to be learning all the time.
Exactly.
If you can instill that in somebody early on, instead of crushing it, which is what happens in most of the educational system.
Yeah.
It's just what an extraordinary gift to give someone. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. So I hope everyone watching, if they're struggling, takes heart with that. So
and if you are, please tweet me, text me, whatever. I'm happy to talk about this stuff. This is truly something that I feel very strongly about and I love. Please, I'd love to hear the stories.
Thank you. And I just see it's popped up that it was Sir Peter Hall. So yay, we got our...
It was Sir Peter Hall. Yay! Well done. Well done.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in 1996, you landed your first sort of series lead in the role of Grant Jansky, who in Traders, which became a huge, huge hit in Canada. And he was a brilliant derivatives trader who was socially inept, but a genius. Kind of slightly similar parallels there to Rodney.
Very Rodney in a way. In fact, Rodney was, I believe, sorry, I'll let you finish your question.
No, I was just going to say, how did that audition process come to you? How did the role come to you, and what was that audition process like?
That's so funny. It's such a blur because I had decided to quit acting. I decided that was it. I can't do it anymore. And I do this. I have this. I think all actors go through this. It's the odiatomo.
Many times.
It's the hate and love. I love it. I hate it. It just, I hate not doing it. I hate doing it. I love it. And it's just, anyways. So I quit. I was like, this is it. I was on a show. I was doing Kung Fu, The Legend Continues. Right. It was extraordinarily odd experience, with terrible substance abuse issues and drug issues with some of our leads. And I was just like, this is not. Like, surely this is what I'm supposed to be looking forward to. Like, this is what it's like being on a big series, where they would write these beautiful pieces for you, then you'd never shoot them because they'd never get to them because, your lead actor was in hospital getting his stomach pumped. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Right. But fun. I got to say, it was an interesting, wonderful experience for an actor. But I got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to, I feel, so I quit. And I became an IT guy, and I did like programming and networking, and I went and I joined this voicemail company just before the internet, and so I was working for like $9 an hour, loving it, working like 20 hours a day, sleeping under the desk and out in Aurora and things, and then this audition came up at a time that I was sort of beginning to question my choices, and I went, wait a second, I could pretend to be an actor, I could pretend to be a geek, and get paid handsomely for a couple of days' work. Or I can be a geek and get paid nothing and work like a dog. I thought, well, maybe it's time to try this acting thing again. And I auditioned for it. And of course, my audition was basically me saying, like, I said basically that to them. I was like, this is kind of what I do. I mean, without the brilliant parts, it's kind of like what I do. I live under a desk and I work with computers all the time. I love them. I love this. I totally get this guy. What a great piece of writing. And obviously my suck up work because I got it. And it was fantastic, and that in turn led to Stargate. I mean, that was that direct connection between that and Stargate. I think it was. Sorry. Yes.
No, I was just going to say, because in between that, I know you worked on the horror film Cube, which will get to very briefly.
Vincenzo. Yeah.
And then exactly. So you end up working with Vincenzo, and this
Vincenzo's first feature film,
which becomes this huge cult classic hit.
Yeah, especially in France, of all places. France and Japan, huge in those two territories, as they would say. So it was his first film.
Did you know it was a hit? Like, were you aware that
No, we thought it was a miserable failure. We were so convinced it was a miserable failure because it had opened in Toronto, in Canada,
Yeah.
And Canada has this horrible tendency to eat its young when it comes to films and television stuff. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
basically, if it's Canadian, it can't be that good. Is basically the mentality. And this little film did nothing. It opened, in theaters and closed like the same week as it always does here. They basically, as long as I think you get government money as long as the film is in the theater for a week. So what they do is they'll pay to put up their movies to get their Canadian content regulation required,
Yeah.
distribution. They'll put them in theaters for a week, and then they just close them with minimal amounts of money. And
Yeah.
anyway, so this happened to ours. We actually went off. We were sitting in a yurt in Ojai, California, trying to write another movie in the hopes of just making something for nothing, because what else were we going to do?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this film sort of took off, and Vincenzo, who we were again working with, was like, I think they might have a budget for this actually. And then all of a sudden we had a movie, another movie that was nothing, and the film was called Nothing. So yeah, we had no idea, absolutely no idea. We'd been to a couple of festivals. We'd sort of seen people. Mexico was extraordinary. Going to Mexico City and having people come up and talk about the film and what it meant to them. And England was another extraordinary experience. Having it in London. Yeah, it was Paris. Oh my God, we went to the Paris Film Festival with Cube. Oh my God, that was fun.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was just this, and it was all my friends. Like these are people I
Yeah.
grew up making little movies with. It was like this is the way it was meant to be. But sadly, that's the way it is when you make little tiny movies. As soon as
Yeah.
you make bigger movies, you're no longer working with friends and doing what you want, right?
No,
So,
exactly.
but that was just those were sort of those are our salad days, our halcyon days of Cube.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
during this time, as you said, you end up auditioning for season
Mm.
5 of Stargate for a character that originally is introduced as a kind of a rival, I suppose, is a better, I was
Right.
trying to think of a word, a rival for Amanda Tapping. So how, you
Rival,
said it
yeah.
directly came from traders. So how did
Well, this
Dr. Rodney McKay come to you?
So how about this for weird? I did not audition for the first McKay. So
No.
apparently, the producers had seen Traders and were looking for a way to sort of bring that kind of a character into Stargate. I was originally offered another part on another episode, oh God, I wish I remember the name of the episode now. It was really good. But basically of an alien that comes to Earth and I think has a romantic tie with Amanda and then ascends or something. I can't remember what it is.
Right.
But very sad, cute little nerdy kind of character. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't make the schedule work. It happened twice. I couldn't make the schedule work on 2 different parts. And then eventually this McKay character came up and I was like, I gotta make, otherwise I'm never gonna work with these guys. I gotta somehow figure out. So basically we figured it out. I went and did the thing. And had like the best time, like just the absolute best time. But then they made me audition for it when they went to Stargate, Atlantis. So I auditioned for McKay after I'd already played McKay.
Why did they do that? Is that because they changed the character
Yeah.
slightly?
Yeah, it was originally it was a completely different character,
Yeah.
and they had sort of switched around some roles and the sort of the backgrounds for various different roles. So I was actually auditioning for a different part,
Yeah.
but I kept and the poor casting agent kept saying like, well, that's a bit too McKay. Can we just sort of it's this character, he needs to be more like this, and I was like, yeah, no, I totally, yeah, and then just did exactly the same way because I was like, if it's not McKay, it doesn't make any sense. I'd just done this episode, so. Yeah, so I was very, very lucky. But what the irony as well was, and you maybe you find this as well, but so I had been bothering my manager, I'd been bothering my agents both in Canada and the States, saying like, I loved working on Stargate. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Please let them know if anything comes up. I'd love to come back.
Yeah.
Because when you get a good role on a fun show, you're like claws in. Never got back to me on anything. Even when Stargate Atlantis first was announced and they started casting, I asked about it, nothing from them. And then this casting agent called up who I knew and said like, maybe you should throw your hat in the ring on this one because they've got this. And I was like, I've been asking my people for like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What the, yeah. So it was, I was.
Amazing. And you started the day after they actually began principal photography on Atlantis. Is that correct?
Yeah, it might have even been the first week. I mean, I think they've been shooting for at least a couple of
Wow.
days. And I was like late to the party. I didn't even get to do the read-through. Yeah, really late to the party.
So was that weird, kind of coming into a group of people you didn't really know? Did you bond quite quickly?
Oh yeah. I mean, you've met them. You can't really can't lose.
No,
They're just
exactly.
wonderful bunch, absolutely wonderful bunch. And I had I was very lucky because I'd already done it. Like, so I always felt that Atlantis was all just about explaining why McKay was such a jerk, as
Yeah.
opposed to having to present anything. So and I also knew everybody. No, I felt it was wonderful. It was just a wonderful feeling. I mean, one of my favorite memories is having Brad Wright walk me through the set as they were building it and saying like,
Yeah.
oh, that's this and that's this, and I was just like. I was like, I used to watch Doctor Who and I wanted to be, this is what I wanted to do. You know,
Oh
like
my
it was like,
God.
this is what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was
That's
just,
so amazing. So
yeah.
he was absolutely, you're a real, it was quite interesting when I announced that you were going to be on the show, like massive fan favorite. But McKay, absolutely, Meredith McKay, Rodney McKay,
Yes.
that very much a
The
character that
Meredith McKay. Yeah.
people loved to hate. You know,
Yeah.
but he had this massive arc and a redemption. And sorry to change the topic, but I'm loving your disco lights behind you. Every now and then we just
Oh, sorry. You know, they respond to my voice.
Oh, I love it.
No ego here, huh?
Oh, I see now. So I was wondering if you could sum up McKay in 5 words. What would they be? The sort of 5 things or words.
Sorry, there was a little bit of a pause. There was a little bit
sorry.
of a pause there.
I was saying that he was a character that people love to hate, but had this amazing kind of arc and redemption in the end. If you had to describe McKay in 5 words, what would they be?
Leader, visionary, let me see, guru, inspiration, ego.
Excellent. I love it.
See, that's a question I wish I'd looked at before, because I really have to wing it on that one. No, he was just such an arrogant jerk, but I think we all know a McKay. I think we all have a little bit of McKay in us. You know, there's a little bit of McKay there. So it's just about, you know, it's just really just about expanding on that. I think my own innate McKayisms.
And yeah, how did you prepare to play that? Did it just come naturally, or because you had a ton of like techno babble that was really complicated? A lot of times.
That's my element. That's my element. In a weird way, it's something that I've always found very difficult to do, but for some reason I love doing it. It's almost like it's like an extreme sport for me. I want people to give me as much dialogue. I want them to give me inhumanly possible amounts of dialogue, and I will try to learn it all, because I don't know why. I just get I get a sense of, I don't know, accomplishment out of it. And I like knowing what I'm talking about, and I always used to joke that I talk so fast so that people who weren't interested didn't have to listen, and the people who were interested could go back to listen to it at half speed.
Well, I have to sometimes go back and then be like, what did he just say? Oh my God,
I know.
I have to learn that. And you see,
I'm unintelligible. It's fun, but again, it's also my world, right? Like that really is, like, I grew up on Doctor Who. Like a lot of these, I mean, not that obviously the terms are different, the terminology and the background and all of the sort of the backstory is different, but at the same time, I think when you have an appreciation for that stuff, when you like that stuff, you know, and I always really enjoyed trying to find the reality behind that stuff. Because for me, when I watched Doctor Who, they used to show this, like, they used to show the undoctor after Doctor Who. So they would, because of the British timing, there was extra chunks of time at the end of it here, and when it showed on TVO. And so they had these whole after Doctor Who shows that was about, that would talk about the science of Doctor Who. So they were sort of inextricably bound for me. So when I started doing the Stargate stuff, I would go, ooh, what's that? 0 point module. Let's look up what that's about. Yeah. And again, I wouldn't understand it, but at least I could have a basic understanding of it, so that when I'm saying it, I can sort of, I've got something in my head, and I find that really helps.
Yeah, you know, it's the only way. I mean, it's impossible.
I think so.
I once had to play a neurologist for this conference.
Oh, wow.
It was like a presentation, but 2 neurologists, and it was the most complicated dialogue I've ever had to learn in my life. And
they got their own lingo.
The night before, myself and the other actress who was also playing a neurologist, we were like clinging to each other going, fuck. You know, we like.
What did you do that for? Who made you do that?
I was hired to do a kind of conference every year. The sort of top neurologists in the world meet, and we were hired by a company called Copaxone, who it's an injection that you take. Is
there any medical company that doesn't sound like they're evil corporations?
Exactly. And instead of just doing a presentation, they hired sort of 3 women who looked like Charlie's Angels. I mean, we so did not look like neurologists. We all literally, we had like the hair down and, you know, everything was like, we're doctor. I mean, it was ludicrous. Anyway, but that was the hardest language I've ever had to do in my life.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, the blood corpuscles, and I had to like, it took forever to get into my brain. But when I got it, I was like, yep, I can do this now.
And you learn something. I think that's one of the fun
Yeah.
things. I think that's why it appeals to me too, is that it's like, it's short bursts of intense learning. And that's basically ADHD, right?
Exactly.
That's all it is. So it's like it was made for us.
Your fabulous and very talented sister, Kate, who was my first guest on Hathor,
Yes, yes.
played your real sister, your real life sister.
She plays my real life sister in real life as well.
She is your real sister. Yes, she played
Yeah.
your sister, is your sister.
Yeah.
She played your sister Jeannie in Atlantis, and a
Right.
lot of people wrote to me asking this. What was it like working with your sister, your real life sister?
You know, it's so funny. Kate is literally like the funniest woman I've ever known. Like she
Yeah.
just cracks me up. Like she's just got this, she's so odd and funny and just and evil, basically. She's just got this evil streak, which I think I share somewhat. So we have a very combative kind of, you know, we show affection by slapping each other in the foreheads, basically. I mean, like it's not, people don't understand it unless they've got siblings.
Right.
And Kate is, I like to say Kate's much older than I am. She's actually like 10 years younger than me. But she, you know, so there's always a big brother aspect where it's like, there, sure, no, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Whatever, little lady, you know, like, you know, I find it very, very hard to take her seriously. But she, you know, and it was under less than perfect circumstances. I mean, she got flown in the night before on like a red-eye flight, and they had her on set 4 o'clock in the morning doing that, you know, the makeup that for some reason women need.
Yeah.
Not need, that's the whole thing. For some reason, the industry believes that women needs that much time in hair and makeup and guys don't. Where the reality is, believe me, you are seeing why there needs to be more work or more filters. But, you know, and just what I loved was seeing her do that scene where she discovers that the Stargate was real. And that for me is always the fun science fiction part for me in any show where you go like, everything I always thought might be possible is true, you know, like that. And she did that scene, she just did such a great job, and she just, her and Amanda bouncing off each other and stuff. It just, I really enjoyed it. You know, it's difficult because the crew always likes her more, which is difficult because she's not there. But as I point out, it's because she's not there that much. I said, you won't like, if she was there as much as I was, then you wouldn't like her either. So, you know,
I asked her to give me a few little anecdotes about you, and she sent me quite a lot of stuff.
Perfect.
So this is some of the things that she sent me.
Denied. Yeah.
When he dropped out of school, I used to sing Beauty School Dropout to him to bug him. I was 9.
That was the best. I vividly remember that. And it was, we're sitting at breakfast, and like my father is like a stone. He will not talk. It's this awkward, you know, and my mom was trying to get the conversation going somewhat, and we're talking about school, and I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done. There's no point. And then there's this awkward silence, and then Kate, beauty school dropout, go back to high school. And she's like a kid. I was like, what do you know? You're a jerk. You know, but again, that's just like out of the mouth of babes. You know what I mean? She just, yeah.
She said you also blew up the garage.
Was it the garage? I think it was my room.
Oh.
No, it was my. No, I wish I'd been smart enough to do it in the garage. I blew up. I would go to jail now, I guess, or I'd be in some kind of special detention center. I used to, you were only allowed to buy a certain, you know, caps, like cap gun? Okay, so you used to buy the caps and rolls, and they were little bumps of gunpowder, basically. Yeah. And so I thought, I need to make a bomb. So, I don't know why. But so I thought I would go and buy as many caps as I could, and I would build a bomb.
Yeah.
And my friends and I were obsessed with, a couple of friends of mine were obsessed with like trying to blow things up for some reason. Like I say, nowadays, this is not good. You know, these are bad instincts to have. But you couldn't buy more than I went in and tried to buy like $10 worth of 5-cent caps. And they were like, dude, No, like you'll blow up on the way home. So I would go in every day. I would go and buy as many as I was allowed to, and I'd go home and I'd carefully scrape the gunpowder off them with a knife. And I got this whole toilet roll full of gunpowder from these caps, and I taped it all up, and I made it look cool and gray and had like silver foil on it, and I brought it into school and said, and was like, "Psst, hey, you want to see a bomb?" And I, look at this. And then one of my brilliant friends says, "Well, how are you going to light it?" And I was like, "Oh, he's got me. I'll show him." I went home. Yeah, I went home and I took the toilet roll and I took a screwdriver and I went to punch a hole in it so that I could put a fuse in. But of course, luckily, I went in, the screwdriver flew up and embedded itself in the ceiling. Like, couldn't pull it out. I tried pulling it, couldn't pull it out. I had to take out the plaster to get rid of it. It blew off my eyebrows. Luckily didn't blind me. Burned all of my hand. I had this horrible sort of like blackened bruise all over my hand, and put a hole in my little workbench. And of course, we had a woman who was hired for the summer to help look after us, who sort of came running up. And apparently I was standing there looking like a comic book, like my hair was on fire and I blackened face, and and that was, so it was actually my room that I blew up, not my.
Right. Well,
not the
we'll
garage.
have to go back to her. The other thing that she said, which I absolutely loved, she said you had a very committed and long Duran phase.
Oh, God.
Best story.
I don't think I'm over it yet.
No, me neither. I have to say, I keep living in hope that they might just, do bedroom tours now because we're all stuck inside. But I absolutely love the story. She said she worked with an A-lister. She didn't say who. She had one little scene. And when he saw a photograph of your other sister, he commented how good looking the Hewletts were. And you responded saying, you should have shown him a picture of me, to which she responded, I did. And you then said, I've never been so embarrassed and simultaneously proud in all my life.
She has twisted that story. She has twisted that story because here's what happened. Here's what happened here.
Okay.
He said, "Wow, what an attractive family you have." And she said, and she apparently, not apparently, I know because she sent it. Sent a photo of me like doing like I was like some kind of like ridiculously terrible, stupid pose. And I was like, this guy's famous and talented, and now I'm a freaking Muppet. So yes, I was less than thrilled about that. Believe me, there are other. One of the things I did when we it was one of Kate's birthdays. I think it was her 50th or 60th birthday. She had. I printed out a T-shirt that I got the worst video capture I could find of her, like the most unattractive, and I had it printed. I printed it out on a T-shirt and then went to her party with this hideous. I was literally like her, like. So yeah, I do my best. It's a two-way street, should we say?
Absolutely, I love it. The sibling rivalry. So in McKay and Mrs. Miller, you got to play two versions of yourself. How was that?
Well, I mean, it's an actor's dream, but it's an actor's nightmare, right?
Completely.
I mean, I sort of I joked about it, and I started thinking about it. I was like, well, I'm playing two roles. I think I should be paid twice. I mean, this is ridiculous because you're learning twice as many lines. You're working twice as hard because you have to shoot everything twice. The logistics of it was just, oh my gosh. I mean, I loved it and I hated it. It was great working with Kate. One of the best pieces of direction, one of my favorite pieces of direction we got from Martin Wood, where he took us aside at one point. He said, "Guys, you've got to remember your brother and sister." And I was like, "No, Martin, we are brother and sister." He goes, "I know, but I'm just not feeling it." I was like, "No, you are. If you're not feeling it, then we're brother and sister, because the reality is this is how we get along."
Yeah.
He felt that we were being too mean to each other, and I was like, "We're not being mean enough, my friend." Like, it was like,
I haven't seen anything yet.
Oh yeah, I mean, like if I was nice to her, no one would buy it. I'm not that good an actor. So it was, it was a really tough one. And again, it was early days for the motion capture stuff as well. Yeah. So not motion capture, for the motion control camera. So basically you have, sorry, just for those who don't know, I know you know, but for those who don't know, if you want to have two people in a scene, you have to run the camera exactly the same way over and over and over again. And you do one with one person, with you playing one role, and then another time with you playing the other role. And the idea is that it has to exactly match, otherwise they can't you know,
Yeah.
they can't
Otherwise
sync
they
it
might
up.
be looking this way.
Exactly. Otherwise, you're looking the wrong way, and well, we
Yeah.
still do that. Believe me, that was still a problem. I think there's even a shot of the guy who played me at one point where they look around, they're like, "Yeah, we don't have time. We'll just use that."
No one will notice,
So,
and they're like,
yeah, if you like, I think if you go frame by frame through a few of those like commercial enders in that episode, you'll see an appearance. And also the other thing is, I said at the time, I said, look, if we're going to do that, I really need someone who can talk fast.
yeah,
Because if we're going to do off-camera lines, it needs to really move. So please, 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 you know, hire a good actor for this. And of course, the guy shows up. The poor guy's like, they picked him out of the extras type thing, and he didn't know the lines. He's got the, you know, he wasn't hired for the line, so he's like trying to read, and he doesn't know how to say Nakwada. He doesn't know this, that. So the poor guy, and of course, I like just unleashed on him all the time. I was merciless, you know. So that sort of definitely added a little bit of friction. But I think honestly, and I don't know if you find this or not, but I have this theory that the hardest, most miserable things to shoot are the funnest things to watch.
yeah,
That the camera just somehow picks up. And I think that sort of mad, maniacal anger and frustration, I think
yes.
it was probably more about the circumstance than my acting ability. So I think it added a whole level of performance that I just probably wasn't capable of
Well, I
doing.
don't know. I think you're being very, very gallant and sort of self-deprecating, because I wanted to just very quickly talk about Grace Under Pressure and the Tower of Rodney,
Oh, yeah.
because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
really, and Shrine as well, actually, you got to
Mm.
really strut your acting stuff and show
Yeah.
some acting cojones.
I know. In a way that you just can't do on other shows.
Yeah.
You'd
So,
just be dead.
what are your standout memories of those particular episodes, if you can, just sort of three, maybe
I
a
think,
couple of thoughts?
so my mixed one on that one was, one of them was because there was all those little video sequences in the shrine where it was just me talking to the camera. So Brad Wright wanted to do them with me during lunch, basically. So I had a quick lunch and we ran down and we started shooting these things because I think we were doing 2 episodes at the same time. It was all sorts of, anyways. So he's like, well, he said, like, do you know them? I'm like, yeah, let's go do it. Like, so we ran off and did it. And he did the off-camera lines and he cried. And everyone's like, oh my God, that's amazing. I was like, yeah, but I think he was crying because of how beautiful his words were, not because of how I was performing it. Like, it was just, like, Brad is lovely. Like, I love Brad, but Brad is like this wonderful little Napoleon. Like, he's just got this wonderful sense of ego, and like, he's just a very smart, very talented nerd. And he just like, you know, it's and an actor. Like, he was, you know, we were doing these scenes. It was lovely to do. So I remember that. You know, and then every so often someone would come in and like they'd be trying to set up another set or something. So you're in the middle of these scenes and somebody's like, dang, dong, dang, you know, oh, sorry, dude, you know, like, you know, oh, let's go back again. I'm dying, you know, like, it was just so. Yeah, and then of course Kate again, like Kate just like, you know, Kate's there flirting with every, you know, with Jason and with all that. Just everyone loved Kate.
I wonder
So
why.
yeah, I guess she's nice to people. I should try that. Yeah, so it was just, and again, as you say, like, what a great opportunity. I mean, and then the other thing is Grace Under Pressure. You're working with Amanda all the time, which just frankly is just a joy anyways. I mean, that's just, you know, but poor Amanda had just had the kid and she's breastfeeding and she had to keep jumping out of the puddle jumper.
She's
We're in
human, that woman. I love her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she doesn't get grumpy.
No.
Like, I get so grumpy people have to hand me Snickers bars and stuff. Like, but she's like, totally.
You know who else is like that? Who is not done sci-fi is Vanessa Hudgens. I've done 2 films with her now, and same thing. She did a film where she doubled herself and then tripled herself, and never grumpy, never late, never a bad word, just on it. I mean,
that's all I am. That's all. I mean, I was gonna say I'm not late. I hate late. I'm like ridiculous. I'm so paranoid. I'm like hours early. Yeah. I'll like do recon. I remember when we first got Stargate, I did a recon to go to see how long it was going to take to drive there and what subways were available. And like, Jane's just like, dude, like, relax. I'm like, no, I got to make sure, you know, so. Yeah. You know, but,
now, I'm looking at the time. Usually at this point, we hand over to the fans for the last sort of 15 minutes. But I'm like only a quarter of the way through.
I'm so sorry. I do babble on a bit.
No, it's great. So what we could do is we could carry on chatting for 15 minutes, but then they will cut us off and we could jump back on. After that.
Sure.
Time, if everyone's
absolutely.
Up for that.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone
that.
okay with that? Hilarious. Someone
Excellent.
says.
Lovely.
Poor guy says, imagine a mad Rodney yelling you about lines. Yeah, no kidding. It was not pretty. Yeah.
I wanted to chat to you. Amanda gave us a really kind of eloquent and very sort of moving account of her last day on Stargate, and I wondered what your last day was like, if you remember your last day on Atlantis. I know you did an episode in SGU as well, but I'm specifically talking about Atlantis here.
Yeah, Atlantis was very odd because we found out we were canceled. I think we found it like on Twitter or something. It was something weird. I mean, it was a weird sort of lack of communication there. Honestly, I think the producers were as shocked as everyone else was. But we were under the understanding that we were going to do a movie. Like they were supposed to do these TV movies, and I thought, great. So I really kind of didn't say. I sort of said goodbye in a very sort of in a way, it was probably a good thing because we never really had that goodbye.
Yeah.
Like it was more like, yeah, see you in the summer type thing. So it was very, and I suck at goodbyes. Like I just suck at them. I'm like, what is it called? It's like the Irish departure where they just like, you're there and then you're suddenly not there. That's basically how apparently there's some kind of like a stereotype that the Irish at parties, they're just there and then they're not there.
Somebody who's Irish, let us know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the term is exactly, but that's me. I just feel that I get incredibly uncomfortable. I always feel like I'm saying the wrong thing, and I forget names for people that I've known for 10 years. I mean, like it's just awful. So I basically usually just go like, okay, yeah, well, I'll see you and then I'm gone. Yeah. And I thought my excuse for that one was like, well, we're going to be back with a movie anyway. And of course, there was never a movie. So yeah,
well,
so that was
maybe one day.
Yes. Yeah. I think I'll be playing the 10,000-year-old Rodney again. I think more like anything else. Wheel me on.
So your fantastic run in sci-fi continued because you then did State of Sin and of course Dark Matter, which I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So interesting chatting to Joe Malozzi when he was on Hathor Host, and we talked about how.
Yeah, talk about geeks. He's like a real geek. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell us who you played and a little bit about that character.
Oh my God, what was the name of the character again? I forgot the name of the character.
I have the name. Is it Tabor Kalchik?
Oh, Tabor. That's it. Tabor Kalchik. That's right. So he was sort of he was like an agent basically. He was like an agent for these mercenaries, and it was just a really fun, silly kind of a role. I just got to play. It was just fun. It was just really fun. From the wardrobe to the lines to and also, I mean, I've got to be completely honest. They said like, we need to shoot 5 episodes. You can shoot them all in a day, in an afternoon,
right?
And you'll be done. And I was like, oh, fantastic. Like that's perfect. Yeah. So we came in and did, and then the poor guys, the next season, they said, well, now you're actually there, so we can actually do a real episode. And I was like, oh. Okay. Yeah. All right. I guess so. It just seems like a lot more work, but I had an amazing time doing that as well. And then sadly, we just couldn't make the last season work out. So, I was really pushing at the time for more directing, and I was sort of making it contingent on. I was trying to use the acting to get the directing stuff, and we couldn't work it out. So it's
interesting though, because he was very again kind of like very arrogant, brilliant.
I don't know where to get that from.
You seem to excel at playing these men with very complex personalities and sort of psychological makeup. And I wondered if there's something in it that attracts you. Like, what do you latch onto in those roles?
I think it's just an energy thing. I think there's a weird. My best. This just sounds a bit of a non sequitur, but I remember like when I was working in IT and I fixed a problem on a computer. And people, like literally people came around the desk and were like, oh my God, like, wow, how do you do that? How does your mind work? And I was like, it's a manual. Yeah. I read the manual. That's all I did.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's almost like a stereotype of genius in film and television.
Yeah.
That you can't possibly be brilliant and good at talking to people at the same time. What I liked about Tabor was that he was not brilliant in any way, shape, or form. He may have been a wheeler and a dealer, but he was not a genius. But I think it's how fast you talk. And I think everyone has a certain, I want to say, a rhythm, a hit, a beat, a rhythm, or something. Yeah, and my energy is seen as coming from a place of knowledge when it really is just a place of curiosity. You know, and I think curiosity is often mistaken for brilliance, if that makes sense, because I think people think that you must be smart if you're asking a lot of questions, but the reality is I just ask a lot of questions. You know what I mean? So, but I think it does. I think it comes across, that energy comes across as you know, as sort of mad scientist in a way, I suppose.
But yeah, and it's great because you have such a kind of joie de vivre that just leaps out of the screen. Both talking to you, I've met you at cons, and it's, you know, it's great.
Well, it's just things are exciting. We live in look, the world is miserable right now, but the reality is there's so many really cool things to get excited about, and I feel like if I lose that, I'm really in trouble, because that's the only thing that keeps me going, honestly. Yeah.
So let's chat a little bit about your turn as a director, because you've directed 3 projects, all very, very, very different tonally, which I found fascinating.
All disasters in one shape or form. No, I shouldn't say that. Dog's Breakfast. I love Dog's Breakfast. Dog's Breakfast, I'm going to think to say about, yeah.
Where did your love of directing develop? Or is it something that you've always wanted to do? It's
not. I'd always thought that was Vincenzo's thing. Like, I really did. And then when you're doing television, you know this, when you do like a ton of television, you start going like, I'm beginning to guess where the camera's going, and I'm beginning to know better than some of the directors what works and what doesn't, just because I'm very familiar with the environment that I'm in.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to direct some Stargate episodes. Like, I really, really wanted to do that, because I just thought, what a great place to start that kind of stuff. And I thought, okay, well, and there was definitely some pushback on that, because they don't generally like actors doing that as well. It's a lot for people to take on. I mean, they're, you know, not only do they have to be, you know, leads in the show, they've also want to do all the behind the scenes stuff as well. It's a lot to ask. And I understand that. And I understand that, I think, more than most, because my background is in being a part of all of it. Right. So I pushed them a bit on that. And in the original contract that I had, it said that they would consider me for it. So I thought, I'll make it easier for them. I'll make a movie. Right. I thought, if I can make a movie, then I could show them that I could do this stuff, and then maybe they'd feel better about letting me direct. And so I did Dog's Breakfast. Yeah. And it was like wonderful. Like, it was just like, it is still one of my most favorite adventures that I've ever been on. Like, I felt like,
it's really fabulous.
It was glorious. It was like all the pieces coming together. Like, I just felt like it was like, I felt like I was like, you know, you're basically, you know, conducting an orchestra. There's all these brilliant people coming in and doing things and helping, and you get to just go like, oh, do that again, and like, and you know, it was wonderful. And I had a very, very clear vision of what I wanted to do, because I knew we had no money. It was my wife has always wanted to produce feature films, and I thought, fantastic, this is an opportunity for her to, you know, her background is theater. She ran a theater with her father growing up in London, and so, you know, this was just a perfect opportunity for that. So I basically just took all the things I had and put them together, a bunch of them in a movie, and my goal was really just, I used to joke, my goal was just to make my father laugh, which is a difficult thing, and he likes these ridiculous slapsticky comedies. So basically, I just watched
you froze for a minute.
Okay. Basically, I watched every single Peter Sellers movie I could find, all of the Pink Panther movies, new and old, and just wanted to make something like that. And it was fantastic. And I think because my expectations were so low, I had such a great time doing it. Because everything after that, honestly, has been an absolute disaster. Like, miserable experiences, all of them. It just, like, as soon as it moved out of the realm of doing what you love, and it became the business of it, I don't understand it, and I don't like it. I really.
So I was going to say, it sounds, because one of my questions was, well, I wanted to know where the phrase came. Like, it's such an English phrase, a dog's breakfast, that's usually the mess. So, like, where did that come from?
Well, I figured, like, you know, let's put it up front. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if the movie's no good, it's not like I didn't tell you. You know, so I think it was, again, there's a certain self-deprecating humor that I like. Yeah. That is completely misunderstood in the States often. I couldn't get over when I would go into auditions, and I would say things like, oh God, that was awful. They'd be like, oh, no, it wasn't that bad at all. And you're like, no, it was brilliant. I know that. I'm just saying, it's what I do. You know,
I'm being facetious.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, irony. Yes. And I was brought up British. I mean, I was born in England.
Yeah, exactly.
My parents are very British. My father specifically. And my mom's back in London again now. So I always assumed I was going to go move to England as soon as, I was going to go move to England and become Doctor Who.
There's still time.
So,
There's still time.
Yeah, I think,
I
I know. I
could
think
be your sidekick. I'm just saying, I could be yours.
I'm thinking I'm more likely, I'll be Davros at this point. I'll be that old twisted man in one of those old Dalek things, That'd be fun though. Yeah, so that was it. It was a very British approach to making films, basically.
Right.
And I worked with my friends and I worked with my family, and Kate, I really, wanted Kate to, I sort of wanted to show off Kate to some extent as well. I thought it was, and she's cheap, so and I just thought she was amazing in it. I mean, she's as I say, she's like one of the funniest people I know, and it was really fun to watch. It's hard to direct friends and family, I gotta say, because there's definitely it's not the same kind of, I mean, on other things I've been on, it's like you're the director and they will respond to you like that. But when they're friends and family, they respect you. It's like, David? I'm like, yeah, but come on, just try that.
So you can't boss them around with impunity then? No.
No.
Not gonna have any of that. Shut up.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a glorious experience because that was like a return to me to the Vincenzo days.
Yeah.
Making these little movies with your friends, with no more hope, with the process being the goal as opposed to the end process. I paid for everything myself. We had a few people who got excited and put some money in as well, which is great. It's the only movie I've ever done that I've been paid deferral and made money on ever, including Cube. And I'm really, really proud that Jane produced it in such a way and was smart enough with the way she did it that we've paid all of our crew deferrals. Fantastic. And big deferrals. Like people were like, yeah, deferral, I'm $1 million a day or whatever. Yeah. And they have all been paid that. And I'm really happy about that.
Oh, amazing.
But that's where my love of directing ends. Right. I don't know that I'm not sure I'm going to go back to it.
Your next project was a sort of horror epic. The Rage of the Yeti, which is which is a bit like what I am in the mornings. My husband says I'm a bit like I have the rage of the Yeti with wild hair and not a morning person. And you shot it all in Bulgaria. So tell us a little bit about that experience.
I've done a bunch of these movies in Bulgaria before. I've always loved them because they are ridiculously awful. Yes. They're what I grew up watching. I watched these bad movies. I like the idea of being in bad movies was like, I don't know why, but probably the worst thing for a career. But as a nerd, it was just like, I'm playing with monsters. Like it's fun, silly, stupid stuff. And I'd done a bunch of them, and I thought, well, this is like director's boot camp. Like, it still didn't feel like I'd done Dog's Breakfast, and it still didn't feel like I was a real director. I didn't know what that meant, really. So I thought, well, I'll do some real directing. I'll go and I'll, if I can survive this, I can survive anything.
Exactly.
And it was, I mean, what an adventure. I mean, my God, I come out of it and I've got the beast stories, like, being at the top of Mount Vitosha and taking away the crew's alcohol because I was terrified. They would get drunk and stagger off to take a leak and you'd never see them again.
Yeah.
I was scared they were going to freeze to death. So I became the American who took their alcohol. And they would talk to me. I'd say like, okay, what's the next shot I'm going to need? And and they would be holding their drink over here. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, like, you think I don't know what that is? Like, so I don't breathe on you.
It's not coffee.
Oh, yeah. And then we got to go again. I was like, why? My cigarette is in the shot. I was like, then move the freaking cigarette. What do you like? My favorite one was.
We're getting a countdown. So what I suggest everyone watching, I'm going to sort of hang up and end this, and then we'll start again.
Got it.
And we can just finish because I haven't got that many left now. I still want to talk about Debug and obviously some of your fantastic recent acting credits, and then we'll have some questions. So
very good. So you'll hang up, I'll drop out, I'll come back in the same way.
Exactly the same way.
Got it.
So see you all in 2 minutes.
See you all in 2 minutes indeed. Bye. Okay.
Let me get my finger out the way.
There we go. This is always that awkward hanging up part.
Yeah, really. Okay, I'm ending now. And we are back. Hello. Hi, David. Hello, Claire. We're back. Hi, Adam. Hi, her. And David Hewlett is back. Here we go. Woohoo! Waiting for David Hewlett. Waiting.
It's seamless.
Yay! I love this.
Yeah.
So we're just going to carry. I know, exactly. You're getting double time because you're
Exactly.
such interesting things that you've done in your life and your career so far, with much more to come. So after the interesting craziness of Bulgaria,
Yes.
which it sounds like it was a nightmare, but also one of those things, as you said, great stories afterwards,
Oh
and
my
you
God.
learned a lot, and it is what
Who
it
else
is.
gets to do that? You're in the middle of a
Yeah.
snowstorm, atop of like, I mean, it's just, it was
Exactly.
insane. Screaming at Bulgarians and having them scream back. It was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
And then your next directing gig was Debug, or
Yeah.
Debug, which of course features current Aquaman Jason Momoa.
Indeed.
And
The lovely Jason.
yes, the lovely, lovely, rather handsome, gorgeous Jason.
Yes.
So yeah, sorry, I'm sure what a nightmare. Everyone talks about like, oh, Jason.
Yeah, and Debug broke me. Absolutely broke me. I that did it for me. I didn't want to. I don't want to. I'm not sure I will ever direct again because of that film.
Why was it so
because
for you?
Because I came into it with expectations,
right?
And I spent a very, very long time crafting a script that was basically thrown out the weekend before we started shooting. And I was the director, so I don't even know how these things.
Yeah.
Basically, understanding how the industry worked, and I don't want to sound like sour grapes here because I take responsibility for the mistakes I made, absolutely. But there is a way the system works here, which is utterly disgusting to me, which is that they take money, producers take money from the government to make movies, and it doesn't matter how they do, and they laud it over people as if it's like a little kingdom of their own, but it's government money, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I found that it's like death by 1,000 little cuts where like, oh, we don't have that. Well, why not? Well, we don't have it, so what do you want to do? And it's like, okay, fine, well, I'll figure that out. And then you go, oh, and that? No, that's not gonna be ready. Forget that. And it was just, we were promised certain things. They were never there. There was this, I think the biggest mistake I made with that was not trusting my gut. I knew we were doing the wrong things. I said it, we're doing this is wrong. We shouldn't be doing it this way. And yet I backed down because I didn't want to lose the movie.
Of course.
And I think what was amazing to me in hindsight was listening to Guillermo del Toro talk about this. And he talks about when he was working on Mimic, which was really tough for him.
Yeah.
And again, this is not a personal conversation. This is what this is out on the web. You can see this stuff. And he talks, I think his father had been kidnapped at that point in Mexico, and it was just an extraordinary difficult time. He's making this movie, and the networks and the financiers and everybody wants their say.
Yeah.
And what he realized, and at the end of it, he realized that he was making concessions after concession after concession to keep his movie going. And he thought that was the right thing to do. And what he's realized now is, no, your only power is to walk away. And yes, you may be replaced, but then you've at least stood up for what you believed. And I came in with a very different script. I remember coming in thinking it was 2001, A Space Odyssey from the computer's perspective. Yeah.
Brilliant.
With a lead, the lead, it was written to be a black actress from Africa. There was a whole backstory about how I believed in the future Africa was going to be like, that was where the elite hackers were going to come from, because they had nothing to lose, and they had cellular connections, and and so they were willing to take risks that other people weren't willing to take. Whole backstory about that stuff. I was then told that we needed to do a found footage movie because that was the latest thing. Everyone was doing found footage films, and this is perfect for that. I went, you know what? That's a great idea. I'm going to do that. So I rewrote the whole movie as a found footage. And then when we arrived on set, they hadn't done any of the stuff that we'd asked them to do to allow this to make sense as a found footage film. So I said, all right, I got to make it a real movie again. So we went back to that. And this is all happening like the week before we start shooting. Yeah. So I was rewriting the whole thing. And it was just a lot of choices. I mean, look, people worked so hard on that. Some people worked very, very hard on that. I think no one does these things out of malice. I just think they think they're doing the right thing. Yeah. And I think one of the best things that we took from Dog's Breakfast was we did what we thought was the right thing to do. We followed our gut and we used common sense. And this time with Debug, what I did was I went, well, I don't know. I don't make big movies, so they must know what they're talking about. Yeah. I'll listen to them. And you know what? Nobody has a clue how this industry works.
No,
Nobody.
exactly. And
They don't
also, I
know.
think it's exactly that thing of, as you were saying, sometimes you end up knowing better than directors, and you get to a point also in your career where, like we've both been doing this for a long time. I've been
Yeah,
an actress for a professional actress for 27 years.
yeah,
I'm at an age now where 9 times out of 10 I'm older than the director. So
yeah.
that doesn't mean that I know everything at all, but every now and then you look at an artistic choice or you look at a decision, and in your gut you're going, oh my God,
Oh
this
my
is
gosh.
a terrible decision.
Well,
Um,
the long shots, the shots that are going on forever. I love those ones where there's like, oh my God, it's this and this, and it goes to there, and it goes, and I'm like, yeah, where are you going to cut? We're not cutting. That's the
yeah,
point. You're
you're
like,
like, what?
you're cutting. I guarantee you, you're cutting.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's funny. And again, as you say, you need to be open because I think there's great, you know this,
sure.
but because sometimes the younger generations have an interesting perspective that I hadn't, like watching Who You Know, this movie that this kid made that Jane produced. I
Yeah,
mean, he made all the wrong decisions in my books, but it works
yeah,
because he's got a different perspective on this stuff than I do, and I think it's really important to be open to that stuff. And I feel like as an actor, I feel like I am, but with the debug stuff, I just felt like, and again, I don't want to be like a total downer on this thing. I mean, some people like the movie, and I think that's great. I cannot watch it. Everything hurts. Everything hurts. I feel the pain in every single decision and bad decision that's out there. There was some great performances. I really enjoyed the idea of Jason doing something different. Like he
yeah. It's
was
an inspired piece of casting
like
because
and it was, but again, it cost us our friendship. I mean, I don't speak to Jason anymore. Like
yeah,
Jason, we had a really big falling out over the distribution of it. Where I guess again, this is the problem, is you've got so many people in the mix. People make promises and then break them, and then you get confronted with stuff you didn't even know happened. So,
yeah, exactly.
so we had a horrible meeting in Australia where the guy was furious at me, and I didn't even know. I mean, I went to give the guy a hug, and he's fuming, like he's ready to
Yeah,
kill me, and I had no idea. I felt like such an idiot. That's probably a big part of it. But of course, and then as soon as then he goes, I'm ready to go too, and then all of a sudden you're
yeah.
like, he's 5 times my size,
Let
you
me
know.
rethink this.
Yeah, but I have nothing but nice things to say about Jason. I love the guy. I think he's just an exceptional. He's a star. He's an absolute star. But I think his experience in the industry led him to believe that I had I guess the power or the ability to change stuff that I just don't. I think if he was in my position, he would have that power. He has much more clout in the industry, but I don't. So I think it was some kind of an argument over, I think there was a poster. It was a poster that was done, and I guess he'd signed some deal with our production company that he was never going to be alone on a poster. And the
Right.
first thing that happened was in England, they released a poster for the movie, and it was just him. And I
Oh,
was like, yikes! And I called. They said, oh no, it's under control. We got it all sorted out. And I said, oh, and by the way, my name's spelt wrong on it. So
oh,
maybe you could change that
yeah,
too.
great.
Yeah, written and directed by some David Hewlett guy.
Yeah,
And but of course it didn't change. And again, unless you were in control of everything, you're in control of nothing.
yeah,
But again, I lost a lot of friends along the way with that thing because of that, and that really bothered me. So I think more than anything, that's what I took away from it. I just didn't feel like I don't want to jeopardize that stuff again. I don't want anyone to feel like I've taken advantage or that I might be, maneuvering. It was a real, I mean, I learned more from that than anything else, as you do. Like I joke that I teach by failing. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like I think that if every movie you make is a glorious experience and wins an Oscar, then I don't think you're going to learn much about filmmaking.
yeah,
This definitely taught me a lot of stuff. It also taught me that for me, there's more power in acting. I think I can contribute more as an actor. I would love to do some more directing, but one of my responses is this whole soliloquy thing that's my attempt to sort of try something a little
right.
different. But yeah, I feel like unless I can do everything myself with a movie, I don't,
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know.
hey, maybe that is the way you go. I mean, Clint Eastwood does that. Woody Allen did it. I mean,
Yeah,
there's.
yeah.
But back to your acting career for a minute,
Yes,
because
yes. And that's what I do. I love acting. Like
you've
I
had,
just,
so you do really have had some fantastic, fantastic roles
oh,
just throughout your career, but
talking
particularly
about lucky.
particularly recently, you worked in 2011 on The Rise of the Planet of the Apes with a
Yeah,
fantastic Andy Serkis.
Oh
Tell us a
man.
little about that experience. And was your inner geek going, ah, this
Oh
is
yeah. Oh,
amazing?
absolutely. Well, I literally said, the agent was like, oh, they haven't done this, this, and this. And I was like, I don't care. Where do I go? You know what I mean? Like it was just,
Yeah,
yeah, it was extraordinary. That was wonderful too, because that was, I hung out with Rupert a lot, not hung out, but on set, I would hang out with the director a lot because I really
yeah,
liked this guy. And I was really interested in how this guy went from a tiny little movie to Rise of the Planet of the Apes and his
yeah,
experience with that. So that was amazing. And there was a couple of like those epiphany moments where one of them was like I was on the street being attacked by was it Andy at that point? I can't remember now. But I think it must have been Andy dressed up as the ape. Well, not dressed up as the ape, but with the whole suit on. He's basically in a
yeah,
big green suit or blue suit with a camera in his face, screaming in your face and pretending to
yeah.
be an ape. And I suddenly went like, "This is a job." Like I was like, "This is a weird
Amazing.
job. It's a
Yeah,
really weird job." So like those moments of like where you go like it was almost that, it was almost that postcards from the Edge moment where you go like,
yeah,
like
exactly.
where you suddenly go like, I gotta get out of this. Like I gotta get in the moment because right now I'm seeing how silly this looks to people. It's a guy
Yeah,
in pajamas, in tight pajamas, attacking a guy in the street. pretending to be an ape. So, but he's brilliant and he's
yeah,
scary. Like he's into it. So it was not hard to act. And the other one was when this little girl who was playing my daughter, we were waiting to go into a scene, and she started asking about what trailer I was in and how she had one that was much larger, obviously, because, well, I mean, she was in it for longer, and
right.
that she also had her teacher there, and I suddenly had that weird moment where I went, anyone can do this job. Like literally, a 4-year-old could do this job as long as before you can even speak, you can
Yeah,
do this job, and I do it for a living. And there was this weird moment of like, is that a good thing? Is that a bad? Like I was like, there's no other job in the world that has so little required of you that you can still do it. So that was just again
well, I
yeah.
don't know, because when it's not done well,
Oh yes,
it's
yes,
also excruciating. I
yes.
mean,
It's nothing worse than a
I've
bad
sat through
child.
some, when you go on auditions, which are diabolical
Oh
anyway, but when you
yeah.
have an audition and you've got somebody literally sitting opposite you going, yeah, I've really loved you my whole life. Come over here and
Yeah.
let me passionately kiss you. You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. No, get back,
I'll kill
Sandra.
you. I'll kill you. Get down.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
um, so next I want to talk about In the Shape of Water, where you got
Oh,
to work with the extraordinary Guillermo del Toro. How was that experience?
it was. I mean, it was like a religious experience. Like it was really.
I bet.
It was. I went in there. I had done debug. I had done everything. I thought I was never going to act again. I thought directing was going to be it. I was like done. I'd cut my ties. I got rid of agents. I mean, the whole thing. And then this came up, and I went, fine, begrudgingly auditioned for a bunch of stuff that I never thought I was going to get.
Yeah.
I think I auditioned from England while we were on holiday, sent it in, didn't hear anything, and thought, oh, whatever. And then I got it. And then I was like, my first response was the jaded actor response. And I went like, oh, great, good, this will look good on the resume. But that was literally my first response.
Yeah.
And then they said, oh, we want to do rehearsals. And I was like, rehearsals? What the? Like, I've only got like 10 lines. I don't have to do a rehearsal. And so, but then I was like, oh, fine. And the studio was close by. So I cycled down there and I arrived all sweaty and gross. And I show up and I hear this, David, and I get called into Guillermo's office, and he rumbles in his desk and he pulls out this little tiny little red cross pin. And he goes, I think your character would wear this. And I was like, what? Because I found it in a market in Marrakesh and whatever. Like, and I just thought, this is Fleming. And I was like, Fleming's a tiny role. And I suddenly went, oh my God, this guy loves all of this. He loves every one of these characters. There's a little bit of him in everything he writes. He talks about, we did this read through, which was the most extraordinary experience because I can't stand read throughs. I hate rehearsing. I like to just do it and get it done. I feel I'm much better just if it's just fast and quick and just reactionary.
Yeah.
But that's not how he works. And you do a scene, and I wouldn't even be in a scene, but I'd be like listening and watching all these amazing actors doing stuff. And Guillermo, every scene, he'd have a story that related to his life somehow, like that directly related to the way he wrote the scene and these characters. And it was just amazing. Like it was brilliant to watch him.
Yeah.
And then he would turn to you and say, like, what do you think, David? And you'd be like, well, I'm playing Fleming. Like, I'm like, I don't know what, like, it was just amazing. I mean, I
Yeah.
never offered it. I never made any suggestions. I don't know what to say, but it was just, and and I found sort of a kindred spirit in that there's somebody who just loves, is excited about everything. He doesn't want to,
I was just going to say that
yeah.
there's when you watch, like, because I love his films and I
Oh,
love that one, and when I've watched him being interviewed and chatting to you now, there's a kind of parallel.
yeah,
You have completely different backgrounds and different energies, but there's that
yeah.
passion and that love and that curiosity and that
He's a
love
nerd.
of what you do. Yeah,
He's a geek. He's a nerd. He's
he's a
just
horror
like
nerd.
you'd sort of go like, come, let's talk about comics. And they'd be setting up and we'd just talk about comic books or something. I mean, like, it
Yeah,
was just, and then he would like, and again, it was almost like being a part of the family. We had this kind of like, he would like, he would like put jabs and I'd jab back, and, like, and it was just like, I mean, what was one of the ones he would laugh because Michael Shannon would never speak to me. Like, we couldn't connect in any way. And I
right.
guess that's the way he worked. He had absolute disdain for my character, so he had absolute disdain for me while we were on set. And I understand that. It's totally fine. I work with people, like, I get it. Whatever makes it. He's a brilliant actor. As long
Yeah,
as you're brilliant, I don't care how you treat me, frankly.
exactly.
I mean, it's if you suck and you treat me badly that you'll have. But we do the scenes, and then you'd hear this like laughter, and they go, he'd go, and he'd bring you, and he'd go, like, and he'd be giggling, and he would say, like, he's like, you're like a little puppy trying to make him laugh, and he's never going to laugh. He's never going to do it. I'm doing the worst accent, but and then one day on set, he said, why are you here? Why are you not in LA anymore? And I said, oh, well, blah, 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 various different things. And I said, and I tell you what I missed the most, that there's no good Mexican food in Toronto. Like, I can't find a good Mexican food. He goes,
Yeah.
this is the place. And he writes down an address, and he writes down a time on Saturday. I'm like, I got I got an afternoon
Amazing.
luncheon date with, fantastic. So my wife was out of town, and so I was on my own. And so I get on the streetcar and I go down. I'm sort of in the beaches, and I'm like, as always, lost because I just have like McKay, no sense of direction. And I go up this side street, and I'm doing the Google Maps thing, and then I'm like, what is this place? Must be, this is really off the beaten track. And I go, and there's this like rather sort of austere looking place, and I thought, oh wow, it's like a private club. And I went and I knocked on the door, and then Guillermo shows up in his freaking, with a pair of flip flops on. It's his house, and his family's just making Mexican food for lunch. And so
Amazing.
I'm there making like little things with his
Fajitas
daughters.
with them.
Yeah, and talking to his wife about how she puts a little bit of milk in the guacamole, and then all of a sudden, Lauston shows up, the cinematographer, and then it was just, and then the cast starts showing up, but it's just
Amazing.
beautiful mix of life and art. And so I came out of there with this, and he said to me, he didn't make movies because he wants to, or because he needs to, or because he feels like this is a movie he should make. He makes movies because he will die if he doesn't make them. And that completely changed my perspective on stuff. Strangely, got me out of acting a lot more. I focused much more on the education stuff because that's the stuff that keeps me alive right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Your sister has joined us. Hello, lovely Kate. And,
Oh no.
What's he been saying about me? All good.
Oh yeah, no, it's all we've done is talk about Kate, frankly. That's basically,
Just before we kind of wrap up our interview and hand over to the questions, I was going to say, you must be doing something right.
Kate is not allowed to ask questions, by the way.
Okay,
No
Kate, you know all the answers anyway.
Yeah.
You must have done something right working with Guillermo, because you guys are currently working on something, or were BC before Corona.
I'm on lunch right now, apparently. I've been on lunch for like 3 months. This Nightmare Alley, which I've got to say, I mean, obviously the script of Shape of Water is like brilliant.
Right.
Nightmare Alley, it's unbelievable. Like, it's extraordinary. It's a remake of the old movie, but it's brilliant. I got this like, I mean, talk about actors' dreams. Like, I got this little email from out of the blue. I get this little email saying, darling, no, my dearest, that's it, dearest, will you do a little part in my next movie? And from Guillermo del Toro, and I'm like, fuck you, like, like, what are you gonna say? So and then originally it was one part, and now it's a different part, and so the last time I saw him, you know, I was literally kneeling at Bradley Cooper's feet, and they said, "Okay, we're going on lunch a little early." We went on lunch a little early, and then they sent us all home for COVID. So I'm still halfway through my first day of shooting on that film, and they're saying hopefully it's going to start again in fall, but you know, who knows anymore? I don't even know. And I was worried about Guillermo because Guillermo is not the healthiest man in the world. And I actually emailed him and said, like, how are you doing? Like, but he sounds like he's well ensconced in Toronto and looking after himself. So
good. And you've been keeping busy during lockdown as well, because
I think I'm busier.
I know, I feel like I'm busier. I mean, this show, which was originally, I was like, oh, I need to do something, has become like a full-time occupation because
yeah, well, good, because it's yours.
Exactly. And also it keeps me, it's weird. It's like, it's a responsibility to show up every week and to do my homework on everyone. And I've learned so much about all of you who've been on.
Well, and thank you for yesterday.
You know,
thank you for doing that yesterday. I think it was important. Like, I feel like, you know, I was trying to address it today as well, but I think, you know, and I really appreciate you doing that, because I think that's, yeah.
No, listen, I grew up in a country where there was so much political discourse and unrest, and you know, apartheid did so much damage that for me it was an absolute no-brainer. So tell us a little bit about Soliloquy.
Oh, I know, it's a tough one. Kate's going to say change the name. Soliloquy. Well, I just saw all these actors doing, like, you know, sonnets and stuff on social media. And I always likened it to like someone trying to do like a one-person show in a discotheque. Like, it's just impossible. There's too much noise and distractions. And I thought, why don't we just have a place where that's what you just go for that. And I just really wanted a place. I remember when I started that we didn't have videotape. We didn't have tape. We had a resume and a black and white headshot. And then you did a monologue. And I didn't you like, what is better for an actor?
Yeah.
Well, but you just get to, like, it's just acting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and you know when it works and you're like, oh my God, you can see them, like, and they're responding to it, and it's everything, and you get to choose the monologue. You have control over everything. And so I thought, I want to go back to that. I don't want any moving cameras. I don't want any cuts. I don't want any tricks. I don't want any gaming the system. I just want actors to be able to try doing stuff, and maybe doing stuff that they're not normally doing. Like, I've never played Juliet. Well, let's mix things up. Let's try things.
You're definitely going to have to change the name. People are going, how do you write it? How do you
Yes, I know. It's
monologues, basically.
Well, yeah, Soliloquy is actually Spanish for monologue, or for soliloquy. And I wanted a domain.
Speech, really, isn't it?
So and the idea is just monologues for performers, monologues for writers as well. If writers want to do their own thing and do it here, that'd be fantastic. But it is just that. And then because of recent events, I thought I'd been looking at trying to create some events, some themed events and stuff for the site, which hasn't launched yet, but has been like, I thought, oh, it'd be great. I'll get like 20, 25 people. We'll put some stuff up and get it set up.
Yeah.
I've had like 250 submissions already.
Fantastic.
So it's like insane. And then I thought, well, how, with this whole new perspective on things and this reality that I've got to try to help change, I thought maybe I can do an event. So I've started sort of trying to craft a way of saying I would like to see, monologues that address, that address, racism, like anti-racist monologues, or monologues that point this out, or that speak to this sort of the current evil in the world. And and I suddenly went, wow, this is not just a place where actors get to show off and flex. It can also be a place where you can use these beautiful words to maybe make a change in the world as well. So that's my hope for it. It's so weird coming from me, because I'm just not an actor's actor. I never thought of myself I thought more of myself as a technical actor than an actor's actor. But I find myself like lying in bed going like, I could do the Roy Beatty scene from Blade Runner. I could do the Time to Die, and like, you could all these little things that you just, when do you get to do that stuff? So
tell actors, if there are actors watching, how do they sign up? How do they, I mean, I know I've signed up and I'm going to be doing it.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, and this is it. This is the other thing, is it's kind of like that, sort of like that rising tide raising all boats. My hope is that I can invite, established, like stars like yourself to do performances. Yeah. But I mean, we're lucky. We're in a position where we've done stuff. People know who we are.
Yeah.
We get recognized for what we do. We can do this kind of stuff, and more than one person watches.
Yeah.
So the idea is that, this is a great place for new people to come in, for old people to try new things, or as I say, to be rediscovered in different roles that you might not be seen normally in.
Yeah.
So the idea is you go to Soliloquyo, so it's soliloquyu.io.
Okay. I'll put it up when I put the video up. I'll put it.
That'd be great. That'd be fantastic.
Well.
Yeah. And there's a submission form there, and you can just fill it out and upload from there. So yeah. And we're working on the site right now.
Oh, excited too. There's going to be hopefully lots more. And tell us a little about Tech Bandits, what that is and what that's about.
Well, yeah, Tech Bandits goes back to that whole thing about the education, where I just wanted to find. I saw kids coming into school just bursting with questions and curiosity, and within a few years, they're like my son, could not care less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're just bored out of their minds. So I thought, well, we're doing something wrong, because that same thing happened to me, and that's what lost. So basically, I'm struggling to try to make up for the fact that I didn't finish school by maybe making school a little more exciting for people who, like me, who may not necessarily respond as well to the sort of standard education. So I hold 2 sessions a week online now. There was a teacher strike here, so I originally had them all in my basement. And then as soon as we shut down, we went virtual with it. But I do 2 sessions a week, one for PC Gaming Bandits, which is all about trying to get the kids who have nothing to talk about except PC games to maybe learn a little stuff in the process. We talked about like racism and online bullying and such today. And then I do a Friday session, which is more of the real geeky stuff, like where the kids have actually created something they call the no distancing sensor, which is the no outbreaks here. It's a little sensor system for the hat, which makes sure that everyone is 2 meters away from you with little sensors. Yeah, they've invented it themselves. They've created it themselves. We've got a guy in the UK, this wonderful guy, Tony Ellis, an inventor and game toy maker, who's going to do a little prototype for us. And then we're going to put together a kit. And then we're going to be able to, hopefully, what we thought we could do is maybe we sell one and then donate one. So if you buy one, you'd actually be buying one for maybe a community in need, or maybe kids who wouldn't normally have access. Because my area is pretty privileged little bunch of kids. So we thought but what I love about them is that they're very aware of that stuff. Yeah. So they're very aware of, like, they want to give back. They want it to be recyclable and rechargeable, and they're amazing. Kids are freaking smarter than we are.
Oh, completely. I mean,
I just learn from them.
Are the future, right?
Yeah. Don't get me singing.
On your social media of the little prototype when it's made, that would be so
cool.
Oh,
absolutely. Oh, yeah. Well, again, and this is on the kids. Like, I mean, they have been drawing up they've been drawing things up, and they came up with a name, and like, it's just, I feel like all I do is throw them in a room together. I'm like the blender. I just throw them in and mix them up a bit and see what happens. And they're amazing. They always surprise me.
Oh, wonderful. Well, what a perfect way to hand over to our questions, because they are quite locked. So the first question is, somebody has said, love the episode The Shrine, where Rodney gets the parasite that makes him forget, like Alzheimer's. Truly a favorite. What did David draw from for that episode? Because you watch him deteriorate, and it's so subtle at first. Sorry.
No, that was the beauty of this kind of stuff, is like only in science fiction can you play a terminal role and then come back at the end. You know, like what other role? Like, I mean, if that was on any other show, it'd be like, oh, that's very sad, goodbye. But I get to pop back next week and be as obnoxious as ever. I asked about it, and I looked at, I researched a bit of various different sort of conditions that you deteriorate over time, and basically just, again, the advantage of science fiction was that it doesn't have to be right to any specific type of condition. I got to sort of pick the most poignant moments of all of them, and which is what Brad did too, with the way he wrote that script. I mean, that script is gorgeous. Like, I'm amazed that script didn't win something, because I just, the way he, I mean, it was heartbreaking. It was lovely, absolutely lovely. I mean, the reason why I didn't win anything is because science fiction is much maligned, I think, in North America. I feel like it's seen as a sort of a subgenre rather than a genre onto its own. You know what I mean?
I think it is a bit there as well, apart from stuff like, the institutional stuff like Dr. Hugh. Dr. Hugh?
Yeah.
Who's Dr. Hugh?
I like that Dr. Hugh right here.
Exactly. We could have a...
I think that was a Freudian slip.
Was working with Sister Kate anything like Rodney working with Jeannie? Not quite sure.
Very similar in a way. You know, Kate has a very inflated sense of herself. And it's, you know, I feel like it's my job to, you know, to teach her, you know, my ability, my humility, basically, you know.
Right.
So yeah, it's really just trying to keep, you know, Kate's ego in check, I think is what comes down to.
Yes, I
Yeah.
see. Is there a specific type of sci-fi you would like to write about?
Interesting. I really like sort of speculative sci-fi. I really like stuff where you look where it's like near future stuff. I
Mhm.
either like near future or complete escapism. But
Right.
the near future stuff I love because it's almost like someone said it's like the first stage of the guy who's it who did this? There's a guy. It was one of the guys who invented well, who's has the Open BCI, this brain computer interface system. And he said to me that science fiction was like the first stage of engineering. It's the dreaming stage. And I
Right.
think the idea that science fiction could be used to almost map out what would happen if, like, for example, like The Martian, brilliant book,
Yeah.
because there's someone who was not even writing a story so much as he was just trying to figure out how this would all work. And I love that kind of science fiction. I have no skills for that stuff, but that's the stuff I love because I feel like you're sort of being tricked into learning something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely
Um,
mine.
in real life, what kind of relationship do you have with Radik Zelenka or David Nichol?
He's very, very late for coffees. But I am the most antisocial jerk on the planet. He is always very, very good about sort of touching base when he's in town or around. So I've seen him in LA. We went off and had pancakes at some place, and here we went off and had coffee while I was playing Magic the Gathering with a kid. And yeah, so I see him all the time. You know, it's really funny. We have, you know, the poor guy, first off, had to work with me the entire time. You know, I got all the good lines. You know, he's just an extraordinary actor. Like
Yeah.
he loves acting in a way that I just don't think I'll ever be able to do. Like he just loves it, loves every bit of it. And I think I sometimes I think I would take that out on him a few times because I was like, oh, stop enjoying yourself so bloody much. You know, the sandwiches are cold and I'm tired. You know, like he's just he's wonderful, wonderful guy. Yeah.
Somebody's just asked, what was it like working on SGU?
That was weird. That was
Yeah.
really weird because there was a lot of because it's like a little office of
Mhm.
politics and like lots of back and forth and stuff. And I guess I make a lot of I make a lot of ridiculous comments about things and jokes and silly stuff. What I discovered when I got there was this weird kind of like tension, right? And Lou Diamond Phillips at one point took me aside and said, "So, you know, do you mind us eating your sandwiches now?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you, he's like, you know what I'm talking about? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I truly don't know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. And I'm like, I'm an anxious little thing at the best of times. I'm like, my heart's going. I'm like, what have I said? What have I done? Oh my God, I'm trying to think, like, if I said something horrible, what have I done? And he goes, you said they were eating my sandwiches. And I was like, then I was like, oh my God, of course. Like, to them, it sounds like I was but my joke, that was my,
Yeah.
like, it was me joking about the fact that I was only there for the sandwiches. I mean, it's sort of like, anyway, so I said, like, I'm, you know, so basically there was a weird kind of energy at first there. Then this was like within hours of getting there. And then all of a sudden it was just like, God, I mean, those actors are they're freaking brilliant. I mean, the
Yeah.
acting at the sets were gorgeous. I thought the scripts were amazing, but it just wasn't the Stargate that I think people were used to. And not the Stargate I was in. I was very worried about how McKay was going to fit in this world because I was a cartoon compared to what was happening in that stuff. But I thought he did a really good job of integrating Rodney into that. And yeah, it was lovely. It was just it was very awkward at first, and then it was lovely. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and oh my God, yeah, I mean, just the actors. I couldn't get over I loved my cast. My cast were great. But these guys, they were so far beyond the characters. There was such just brilliant craft of acting happening on that set. And that was what they were going for too. It was much darker,
Yeah.
I loved it.
I was gonna say, I think it's one of those shows that is just sort of mellowed and a bit like fine wine. It's got really better. So here's somebody's asked, I'm going to try and bring the question up. There you go. As an actor, how do you feel about live theatre?
Hate it. I
Why?
hate live because I get so anxious. I am so terrified.
You
I spend my
watching
time.
it, or
Oh, I can't. Yeah, I hate watching it.
you
I
get
hate
anxious for the acting?
being in it. I can't. I literally worry that people are going to forget their lines. I worry that people are going to trip. It's the weirdest thing. But I just get, I find, now, on the other hand, I love big spectacle stuff. That I'm fine, like Baz takes me to Cirque du Soleil and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If theater is a spectacle, I love it. But these sort of kitchen sink dramas and stuff, I'd much rather see them on film. I just feel, I truly feel anxious, and I think it's like PTSD, like it's from being an actor on stage.
Yeah.
I got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. I was getting like sick, and I would just I'd be throwing up before every show, and I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it. Maybe I could now. I mean, they got pills for that now. But
that's true. But it's still there. That kind of fear is very real. I was chatting to my guest last week about this, and I think it's a bit like riding a horse. You just got to get back up on it and do it.
Yeah, it definitely comes. I definitely consider that every so often, where I think like maybe it is worth time going back to that, because there's something very pure about it. I mean, that's kind of what I want to do with monologues, with the soliloquy thing, without the live, without the live theater part. Yeah.
Let's see. So you worked at Area 51. In real life, have you ever been there?
No, but there's nothing there anymore. They've had too much time to get it. It's all moved on. Yeah. Oh my God, X-Files. I used to watch that. Oh. We were like,
I love the X-Files.
Binge watch that stuff. Oh,
my favorite, one of my favorite stories about my time on Stargate, because at the time the X-Files were shooting up there in Vancouver, and Gillian Anderson had short-ish red hair, as I did at the time, and I got into a lift, an elevator, one evening, and it was after I'd done the scene with the prawns and everything, which ended up stinking, these plastic things that were melting. So I had a very pungent aroma emanating from my body, and I could see people in the lift kind of being like,
do you shower much?
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh my God. We get into the thing and it's going up, and as I get to my floor, so just at the floor before mine, a woman gets up, and as she gets up, she turns around, she says to me, I just love you on the X-Files. David Duchovny, not so much, but you, I love you. And I was like, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, let's see.
That was the first time I was ever recognized in LA. I was recognized, and someone said they loved all the films I've made, and then realized I wasn't. Oh my God. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh my God. Quentin Tarantino.
Right.
Yeah. I have played Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
So this is how sad I was. I thought I was too cool, and none of my friends I wouldn't ask any of my friends to play Dungeons and Dragons with me. So I used to write Commodore 64 programs to do the Dungeon Master for me, and then I played by myself at home. I don't know what class I would be now. That's interesting. I think I'd have to be sort of like a mage or a sorcerer or some sort, I think, because I haven't played forever. I really want to get back into it. Actually, I want to get back. They're doing a Stargate RPG game.
Okay.
So they're taking the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and they're using that as the engine for a Stargate themed RPG, role-playing game. And so I really want to do that. I have like the beta kit, but I just don't know what they're doing with it. I as always with MGM, it's always a bit, I don't know, what's over there? Squirrel. Yeah,
Is it true that you purchased the sets from Atlantis? And if so, where are they now?
There's one there. See that wall sconce there is a I believe an SGU piece. There's a chair in the other room that I have. I wish I could have taken it all, honestly. One of my most frustrating things, I stole, I shouldn't say stole, it's not true. We actually paid for it hugely in a way, but we stored, when they were about to tear down the sets for SGU. Right. And I approached the producers and said, I'll tear it down. Let me tear it down. Because they were taking bids for it. And I was like, you pay me and I'll take the sets down. And I thought what I would do is I'd use the money that they paid you to take it apart to just go and and save it somewhere. They're these beautiful. I mean, the SGU set was the most gorgeous set of all of them, absolutely. And the intricacies, the beauty, the actual functioning, beautiful things, designed for HD, basically. And they didn't go for it. They had a professional come in and literally just tear it to pieces and throw it away.
Yeah.
So we managed to save one shuttle set from SGU, and I was going to use that with Debug. But then again, the same thing. One of the issues, one of my frustrations with that on Debug was they didn't. Of course, the set designer didn't want to use someone's existing set, even though it was the most beautiful thing. We couldn't afford building it ourselves. They painted it all white.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And they pulled out things. And anyway, and then at the end of the shoot, we hadn't used a lot of these components. They tossed them, all of them. I came in the day after we'd wrapped, and they'd thrown almost everything out. So I managed to save a couple of things, and that was it. But this industry is terrible about waste.
Yeah.
And it's proprietary, right? That people don't want you to use things again because they want it for their movie and their movie alone type thing. So hopefully that will change. I think it will change. I think it is changing. So,
yeah. Well, I think it's going to have to, isn't it?
Yeah. I want to build more of these, actually. I've been looking at how they're built in the hopes of being able to. I'd love to have a whole wall of,
yes.
Yeah,
that
really
would
cool.
be so cool. There's so many
Like,
questions coming up. I can't keep up, but I'm trying.
Ibrek, thank you for the raid. And I've just got a lemon. Really, I love lemon. This is the funny thing is I'm not allergic to lemon. I'm allergic to I'm allergic to pineapple for some reason. But
oh no!
But I eat it all the time. I just get very Mick Jagger. My lips go all big. I've had to stop actually because then I went down my throat. I had to go to the hospital. But yeah, so no, I have no allergies to lemon. In fact, I don't know if anyone does. Do any of the producers have it? I don't think any of them do.
No, I read somewhere that it was an in-joke because there was somebody in the crew who apparently had a citrus allergy, and the big joke was that whoever this person was, because they're not named, they would always be like, no, get it away from me. But actually had been eating the salad dressing at lunch for like 5 years where there was citrus.
That had lemon. Oh, interesting.
So
a little bit of hypochondria. They thought they would bring that in.
A little bit of hypochondria. But I mean, I'm quite partial to a little bit of hypochondria. I'm always.
Oh my God! I was born for it. I was born to be old and hypochondriac. Yeah, and whatever.
Somebody said, I remember that he said to Radek Zelenka, Mize, forgive me, in Czech. Did David Nickel teach you that? And can you say anything else in Czech? And can you please say hello to the Czech Republic?
I can say Prusa, which is my printer, which I love, which was built in the Czech Republic. Joseph Prusa is the guy who created that, and is an amazing guy. I've been in touch with him. Yes, hello, the Czech Republic. You are wonderful. They're amazing. You know, talk about the way they handle this COVID stuff is extraordinary. So Joseph started building face masks and shields and came up with a whole bunch of hand sanitizers and stuff. The Czech Republic, I mean, and specifically like companies like Prusa there have just been extraordinary. I'm just blown away by them. Yeah, way to go, Czech. And I got to get there sometime. I'd love to get there sometime. There's an amazing like a biohacking lab there as well. Like there's so many cool things happening over there.
Well, we've got to get there. That's the thing. We've got to get well and be able to travel again.
That's it.
What was it like to shoot Sunday episode where Carson Beckett died? Lovely Paul McGillian, who will be a guest on this show. Probably.
He's amazing. He's amazing. He's far more interesting. That was the most awkward thing because I literally would like be sitting in my room talking with Paul, and then at one point I got called upstairs. I went upstairs and they told me that he was leaving the show. They were, he was going to be leaving the show, and I was like, I was like shocked. Like I was just absolutely shocked, and I sort of left, and then I went down and I came back again and I said, like, I think it's a bad mistake. I don't think you should do that. And then they're like, yeah, you're mistaking friendship. This is about the show. We have to do these are things that have to be, decisions have to be made. And they're little actor. And then I went back and Paul asked me what they wanted to talk about. Mm-hmm. And I was like, nothing. Like I didn't know what to say because they'd said expressly not to anybody and that they hadn't spoken to Paul yet. And so not to say anything. So I felt like this, like Judas, because I was like, I knew, and he didn't know, and he was like, and he knew something was wrong. He was like, wait, what's going on? And then he got called up, and he goes up, and he comes down, And he was like, so did you know? And I'm like, well, did I know what? I'm not supposed to know. I don't know what you're talking about. And of
Look
course,
over there.
yeah, exactly. And then he's like, it's all right. They told me that they'd already told you. And I was like, what? I was like, no fucking assholes. Like, what the hell? Like, what the put me in this horrible position?
Yeah, that's
Where they're telling you not to say anything. And the problem, the biggest issue that we had on that show, I think, and a lot of it was that the show had been going for a really long time. So
yeah,
there's a lot of just stuff that had nothing to do with us. That was just, little tensions and stuff. And the other thing was, I got such a great character out of this because I was the writers. Like
yeah,
they wrote themselves into McKay so much because they were McKay. But as a result, they were terrible at communication and people skills in a lot of ways.
right.
So, and that was just another example of that. So, and then when he, and again, that's not their fault. I just think some people are better. Writers are better at writing than they are about, socializing with people.
Yeah.
Actors are better at socializing than writing generally. So, but it was just an awful. There's just nothing nice about losing a character, especially
Of
when it's someone
course.
who was just so, like, Paul and I were like inseparable. Like he's in Dog's Breakfast as a
Yeah.
woman, for God's sake. He did that for me. I mean, like that's, so yeah, it was, and it honestly, again, that's another one where the industry just really messes with friendships. Like, I just don't feel like we've ever really been as close,
Yeah.
since then.
I
So,
mean, I think it's also sometimes a product of being on set. Film is such an extraordinary thing because it's like you form these bonds that are thick as thieves for really
yeah,
long times, or sometimes a very short period of time, but it's really intense. So for
yeah,
5 weeks, you're in each other's pockets every single day. You're in makeup together at 4:30 in
yeah,
the morning. You're in the same hotel, or you're in the same city. You socialize together. You chat together. It's like you live your lives together. And then when they say cut on the final day, that's it. You just don't end up seeing. You always say you will, and you say you're going to stay close, and sometimes you
yeah.
do, but it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just one of those things. It just happens.
It's like relationships on fast forward. It's like they've taken a lifetime of friendship and they squish it into like a few weeks.
Yeah,
But then once you're out of that little bubble, you don't always have the same connections anymore, right?
exactly.
Obviously, because you're completely different people, and also you become somewhat the characters that you're playing,
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden it's almost uncomfortable. I find it weird when friends and family visit me on sets because I'm like, I'm a different person here. I
yeah,
can't help it. Like it's just, and there's a stress to the social aspect of it. I just want to go and work. That's all I want to be there for. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah, but it was, no, he was, and look, it was both brilliant and a huge mistake getting rid of him, because getting rid of him got a huge amount of attention for the show, just like they said it was going to.
yeah,
There was a huge fan backlash on that and call for his return, and they returned him, which is fantastic. It's great having him back. And so basically they did what they wanted to do, but it's as they say, it's very difficult. The friendship and business and writing and creative, it's an odd
thing,
world,
yeah.
very odd world. Yeah, but
I'm
he's
gonna
lovely. That was a lovely scene.
He is indeed. I'm going to take 2 more questions because I'm aware that we've kept you you've been such a star. Thank you. We've been on like for 1 hour and 45 minutes. Amazing.
Oh my God, I'm so bad.
So,
Okay, all right.
no, it's great. And thank you so much for taking
Oh no, thank you. It was lovely.
So I guess the kind of questions that have come up the most here and that were also sent to me is, are you still friendly with Tori and Joe Flanagan and everyone? Are you still friendly?
Conventions.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's the only time I see them now. Like, I mean, there's the odd. I mean, I'll throw out like a little tweet or a message here or there to say, when I heard about Joe and the fires down there and stuff, I got in touch and said hi and hope he was all right, and and he's doing amazing work with that. Like the idea that he's sort of caught onto this idea that there's, that it's not, once the fire is over, there's still all the trauma, especially for the kids.
Yeah.
Like imagine being a kid and losing absolutely everything.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's actively pursuing that stuff, and he's just he's always been a brilliant. We have definitely butted heads, but I think he's just an extraordinary guy. He's so freaking smart. He doesn't necessarily come across that way, but he's really, really smart guy.
Yeah.
Very savvy, really is just always going. There's always just like he's amazing. So absolutely. And but do I actively chat with him on a regular basis? Not really. No, I don't. I mean, we're just in different worlds now, you know?
And also, I
I
think
never leave the basement.
it's that thing, but it's that thing that we were just saying. It's like you form these very intense, very, very close friendships, and then you just somehow get on with your own lives. Here's a funny question. If Rodney was to meet Hathor, how do you think that would go down? Oh, honey, are you kidding?
Well, I'd be like, I would probably be inappropriately hitting on you the entire time. It's usually the way McKay works. And yes, I mean, yeah, it would be a disaster.
I don't know, somebody's saying I would seduce you in a second, but perhaps not, because he's so smart. Maybe.
I don't know. I was going to say maybe not. I think I'd probably do the chasing, knowing McKay. It'd be more pathetic that, you know, that Thor's like got nothing to do with him. You know what I mean?
I love it. So final question. Do you have any funny stories about working with Amanda Tapping? Because that seems to have come up a lot. That funny, like anything, funny anecdotes or anything, because everyone adores her so much. We all love her.
Oh my God. I think the funniest sort of stuff for me was Grace Under Pressure, where the poor woman was just like, you know, I mean, she literally had just had a child and had the rather enormous, you know, breast-friendly,
Yes.
I mean, child-friendly breasts, and, you know, and would have to disappear every so often to breastfeed. And then my wife would leap into position and do the off-camera stuff, where she discovered that maybe it's not as easy as just knowing the lines. You know, and it was this wonderful sort of odd, and she was just so like happy about it, and just, I don't know, there was a strength to her that I was really respected. She took the time she needed for her child when she needed to do it.
Yeah.
And there was no questioning that, and but it was done in the most respectful, funny, just personable way. And I never felt like, I was constantly worried that she wasn't getting enough time, you know?
Yeah.
And then having her back there in that wonderful stuff with Jewel in the box, in that episode as well. We just laugh so much. Like, I think by the end of that Jewel, Sam and I, and Jewel and Amanda and I in that underground bunker, we worked out a whole musical, like terrible bad sci-fi musical. You know,
I'm up for that. Can we?
Oh
do
my
that?
God!
Kate can write it.
Yes, Kate can be in it too, and she can sing it,
yes,
and
of
I'll
course.
watch it, and I'll watch it. Because I don't sing or dance. But yeah, so it was just like that. I don't have any specific stories. She's just always, I just can't get over. She has this ability with people. Like, she's just amazing. There's a strength and a personable quality to her that goes with this kind of light. Like, she's just, I can't get over her. I really, amazing woman. And I'm so happy to see her directing, because I think of anybody, like, she directed an episode of SG1, and it was like one of my favorite episodes. Like, I thought it was one of those ones where I went like, wow, that's cool. Yeah. And then I found out she directed it, and I was like, oh my God, why didn't she direct, like, you know, all the time? And I'm so happy that she's got to do it now, because I think we need more women like Amanda directing this stuff, because they understand it. They've been there. They know more than everybody else on this stuff. You know? Have you ever thought about directing? Is that something you're interested in at all? Or?
I've never film. I don't feel I haven't spent enough time in recent years on film sets. I'd be quite interested in maybe doing some theater directing, but wow. I still feel like I just want to act. You know, I'm like I don't care if it's funny. I don't care if I'm doing comedy. I don't care if I'm doing drama. I just want to act. You know, and that's like my big kind of passion and goal, is to try and get onto a series, like a series regular gig. That would be amazing. I mean, my absolute heart broke when recently I saw a quote from Brad Wright saying that in the whole franchise, there were only 3 episodes that he felt were an unmitigated disaster, and Hathor was one of them. And I was like, that's why I was never asked back. But I was devastated, because I was like, what?
But that's not you. That's just
I don't know. Maybe he thought it was. I don't know. But you know, I have to say,
it's so hard to know those things.
The character's been good to me, so I can't complain.
Well, the Stargate community is just, I mean, I can't get over it. I mean, it's ridiculously friendly. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they just,
And
everything
loyal, so loyal.
oh my God. Yeah. You know, but it's sci-fi, right? I mean, we're nerds. I feel like I came home.
Yeah, exactly.
I
And
mean,
on that note, I think we
yeah.
should call it today. Somebody asked, oui, je parle français. Bonsoir, bonsoir, tout le monde.
Ah, peu de français sous mon, je
Oui,
parle,
oui. Super. Je comprends très vite,
ah,
mais je parle un peu. Alors,
oui.
thank you so much, David.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And well, honestly, congratulations on this. I think this is
thank
wonderful.
you.
I love that you're doing this, and I wish you all the best with it. I look forward to many, many more of them.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Well, who knows? Maybe
Next time round. I look forward to the next time round.
I'll tell you what, there will be part 2, and next time, hopefully, we can all do it in a studio and have a studio audience. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
With sandwiches.
With sandwiches and no lemons.
Yeah, that's it. Or lemons, whatever.
Or
I'll eat anything.
So whatever.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Lots of love.
You have an
Thank
amazing
you.
day.
Yeah,
and
pleasure.
Thanks so much, guys, for joining us. I'll be here next week, same time, or next Monday. Next Monday, not Tuesday.
Oh,
Monday.
well done. Okay, so Monday next week, everybody.
Yes, and thank you so much, David, for all your time and for being such a star. Mwah.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Good night, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good night.
Evening. Bye.
Whatever it may be.